Hey everyone, welcome into the Flippin' Hippos YouTube channel. I'm Star the Flippin' Hippo, and today we're going to talk about how you can start a reselling business with $20 or less. Yes, you heard me correctly. You can start a reselling business with less than $20. You can start with stuff around your house, and that's free. And that's what I always recommend to brand new resellers when you're just getting started and you're just learning about what sells and you're learning how to take the best photographs, you're learning how to do the listings, you're learning how to look up comps, all of these things that you learn in the beginning that most of us take for granted later, you can learn with stuff from your house. And then you're not spending any money to find out you made a mistake and brought home something you shouldn't have. And you can learn how to look up comps. You can learn how to do your listings, how to do your keywords, and all of that. And in fact, you don't even have to sell a lot of stuff from your house or everything from your house that you look up comps on. That's another kind of like a tip or a trick I tell new resellers. Just go around your house and look stuff up. If you want to learn how to comp correctly or look up items on different platforms, you can just look up stuff from around your house without any intention of selling it. But you do want to sell some of it so you can have a little bit of money to get started. So go around your house, do some spring cleaning, clean out the closets, clean out the dressers. Everyone, if you have kids, everyone knows kids grow out of their clothes so fast. We all have like entire dresser drawers of clothes that we like never wear for when I lose weight. I have never heard of anyone that doesn't have clothes just sitting around that they don't wear. So go through all of that. Do you have old gaming systems you don't use anymore, video games you don't play anymore, books you don't read? Do you have plush laying around, old handbags, coffee mugs, whatever? Go in with the mindset of not a reseller. Back before we were resellers, once or twice a year, we would clean out the closets and go through everything, and we would have a donation pile that we would take to Goodwill. The only difference now, instead of donating the stuff to Goodwill, you're going to be a reseller and you're going to list it and sell it. So just go through your house, get some stuff together, get it listed, and you can learn a lot as you go. Like I said, you'll learn how to look up comps. You'll learn what brands are good and what aren't based on what you have in your house. You'll start the learning process, I should say. You'll start the learning process. And then when a couple of items sell, when you have your first $20 profit, you can take that to the Goodwill bins. And if you're not familiar with what the bins are, the Goodwill has outlets, and you can Google for outlets in your area. Some folks are lucky and have like 3 outlets nearby, and some folks have to drive an hour to get to one. But you can look them up online. And what the Goodwill outlets or the bins are is where they sell all of their items by weight. They bring out these giant bins that you dig through, and you can find hard goods, plush, clothing, and you pay by weight. And the cost is going to depend on where you're at as well. And when you look up bins in your area, you can go to their websites and you can see $1.19 a pound for clothing, 50 cents a book. Everywhere is different. And you take your first $20 there. Or if, you're not interested in digging through the bins, or the closest one, it's just not feasible for you to drive to, you can go to thrift stores in your area on discount days. And again, that's just something you can look up online. See if your Goodwills have a 99-cent day. See if your Salvation Armies have half off Wednesday. Are you a student, military, senior? Places have discounts for that. Some places have Ladies' Day where all ladies' clothing is like half off. So just go on the computer, go to Google, look up all the thrift stores in your area. A lot of them will have their sales or their deals right on the front webpage, like with a calendar. Like literally, they'll have a calendar that shows you which days they have what sales. And you can take your first $20 and go there and get $20 worth of items. Or if you're at the bins, you'll get $20 pounds basically, and you bring all of that home and you get it up and you list it. And when all that sales and is said and done, you take the profits from that, which should now be even more. Let's do some easy math. Let's say you sell enough stuff from around your house that you have a nice crisp $20 bill, and you take that to 99-cent day at the Goodwill. and you buy 20 items and you get good items, maybe not luxury items, maybe not Bolo, but maybe you find super good bread and butter items that are going to net $10 profit per item. Once they start selling, once you sell a couple of them, 2 of them, you've made another 20 bucks, right? So you sell 3, you've made 30, so on and so forth. But I don't recommend waiting till they all sell because clothing can be long tail and you might be waiting a little while. But once a couple of them start to sell and you have another 20 bucks, go get some more items, get 20 more. Eventually, you're going to build it up to where you now have 100 items in your store, right? 120, 140, 160. Just keep taking your money that you make and reinvesting it into the business. That's the most super important part in the beginning. Don't worry about all of the fancy printers and the tools and all of that. Worry about reinvesting the money back into more inventory. I just recently did 2 videos on the tools that you absolutely have to get started. I'll have that pop up here. There's like 8 items you need before you can really get started, but there's stuff that's just for later, for down the road. You don't need all the fancy photography lights, backgrounds, thermal printers, any of that. In the beginning, the number one most important thing you can do for yourself and your business is to just keep reinvesting into inventory. And you can literally start with $0 selling your own stuff, taking your first $20, buying $20 worth of inventory, and just let it roll. Reinvest it all. Don't spend it. Don't use it for bills. Don't use it for anything. Most of us, when we start reselling, most of us, I should say, already have a full-time or a part-time job, and we're just doing this on the side, whether it's on the side as a hobby or for some extra money or with the intention of building it into a full-time job or a business. Most of us are already working somewhere else to pay the bills. Unless, you get canned or laid off or disabled. Like for me, I got thrown in and it was sink or swim. Unless you're in a really bad situation, I really advise you not to touch your money in the beginning, at least for the first 6 months, if not for the first full year. Every single cent of profit should be used to reinvest in inventory, if you can do it. Most of you can, because again, it's kind of rare, I think, that people get thrown into this sink or swim. It does happen, and if you have to touch your money so you don't lose your house or get evicted or so you can eat, obviously, if it's profit, you can use it for that. But the very rare instances like that aside, I would say for the first 6 months to a year, every single cent you make that is profit, you should be taking to the bins and the thrift stores and the yard sales and reinvesting in your business. Eventually, you'll get to a point where hopefully you can find enough stuff in your area, especially if you're doing bread and butter. We just talked about yesterday about bread and butter items versus the luxury and Bolo, what you can find in your area. But eventually you're going to be just reinvesting everything you make enough that you're going to be able to buy more every week too. So whereas with, the first time you went with your 20 bucks, maybe you only got 20 items, eventually you're going to be able to get 100, 200, and you can build up the volume and the inventory and you'll be making more money. And then whenever you hit your goal, whatever your goal is, if you want to have 1,000 listings, 2,000 listings, when you hit that goal, then you're just maintaining. You don't have to grow anymore. So the first 6 months to a year, you're growing. You're growing. You're growing. You want to build your inventory up. When you reach your goal, then you're maintaining. You only got to relist what you've sold so you can start spending less money on inventory at that point and taking your profits to reinvest into better tools for the business, like a thermal printer or whatever. And then eventually, once you have all of the tools that you need or wanted, you've upgraded to photography lights and a nice background, you got the thermal printer, you got all the stuff you need, then you're maintaining your inventory and then the rest is yours. But it does take like 6 months to a year to build up to that. How do you know what your goal listing is going to be? Well, that's just going to be something you're going to have to figure out on your own with a piece of paper and a pen. You need to figure out how much money you need. And we talked a little bit about this in the bread and butter video as well. How much money you need to make a month, how many items you're going to need to sell. You have to figure out your average sale price, your cost of goods and all of that. You need to figure out how many items you need to sell every single month to make the money you need. So if you need $2,000 a month and you average, $10 profit on each item, you're going to need to sell 200 items. And then you need to figure out what that breaks down to per day. That's how many you need to list a day just to maintain, but you want to continue to grow. If you need to sell 20 items a day, you're going to need to have 4,000 listings, because the average sell-through rate on used clothing and plush and most hard goods is like 0.5%. Way different for electronics, but we're talking about used clothing, about 0.5%. So like we have like around 2,000 listings. We sell around 10 items a day. So we know that we need to keep it at 2,000. So in the beginning, you figure out how much money you need to make, how many listings you're eventually going to want to have. If it's 2,000 or 3,000, once you hit that goal, you can back off. But you have to grow in the beginning and not touch those profits. And it can be very tempting because you start to make more and more money as you go. But you need to just keep taking it and reinvesting it back in until you hit your goal. If it's only 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, whatever it is, then you just maintain. And this is all going to be individualized. Again, everyone has to sit down on their own with a pen and paper and figure out how much money they need to make. Everyone has a different story. Everyone has different bills and debts and sizes of family and pets and everything. So it will be individualized to you. And I guess that's it. So just start with stuff around your house, take your first $20 and just keep taking your profits, putting it back in the business until you've grown to where you want to be. Then you're just maintaining. Then you can get the better business tools, upgrade your store subscription, whatever it is you need to do. And then eventually you'll be making profits. 6 months to a year, if you really bust your butt and list a lot and really, put your head down and work. We did this exact scenario, except with the slight difference of me being thrown in sink or swim. Keith, for a year, did this. He sold stuff from around the house. He took his first 20 to the bins. Of course, I was still working full-time outside of the house for that first year, but I did go with him to the thrift stores, the bins, the yard sales, because it was fun to try to help him find the treasures. But yeah, he started selling his own stuff. He took his first $20 to the bins, and then he just kept reinvesting every cent he made back into the business. And within a year, he was at his goal, and he only needed like 3 to 6 months more before he was going to be making enough to quit his job. But then I got hurt and I lost my job and I became disabled and I couldn't get work outside of the house. So I took over full-time from home, and then it took us another 2 years to build it up to where he could quit his job and join me. So now we both do this full-time. So it is absolutely feasible to start with nothing, and within a few years, have it be your full-time job. And if your partner wants to do it too, you guys can build up for that. It is a lot easier with 2 people, I will tell you that, but you have to make even more money for 2 people to do this. But it kind of goes hand in hand. If one person can do this to make a full-time living for themselves, then 2 people should be able to do it for 2 people. But yeah, it's absolutely feasible. It's easy to do. We are not the only resellers I've heard of that have the same story about how we started. Everyone starts with nothing, and everyone can build up to this being their full-time income if you really, really want it, if you're hungry for it, if you want to be your own boss and you want to work from home and you're willing to put your head down and put the work in. Anyone can do it. And you can start with nothing. If you've already started, if you're already a reseller and you've been at this for a little while and you're not quite where you want to be, hopefully you can pull something from this video still to help you out. Maybe you needed to hear the tough love of stop touching your money and start reinvesting it. Again, there are rare situations where some folks have been put in like their back up against the wall and they have to touch the money. But if you're not in a situation where you don't have to touch it and you don't understand why you're not growing and why you're not making enough money yet, maybe you need to hear that little bit of tough love. Stop touching your profits. Reinvest it. Buy more inventory. All right, let me know down in the comments below what you think, if you have questions, comments, or concerns. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up before you leave. It really helps the channel, guys. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Help us feed a hungry hippo. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Flippin' Hippos on all social media. Don't forget to join our Facebook group, Flippin' Hippos Reseller Pod. Free to join, really great Facebook group. Link is down below. And until next time, go be productive, go make some money. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. Bye.